Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the start of a special news series here for the first time on the channel. As we're getting ready here for the free agency and the draft, we're going to do a full rebuild and offseason in charge of all 32 teams in the NFL. And we're starting here with the Vikings, courtesy of Alvin Dion, who became my first ever supporter on Patreon. So if you guys want to see your team bumped up in the priority order here, head over to patreon.com/ThatFranchiseGuy. Check out a bunch of other cool benefits there as well. So this Vikings team is in an interesting situation. It's actually a fun team to start with because obviously you got the three quarterbacks who are going to be a free agent, but the rest of the roster is in pretty good shape. We'll run through it here in a second. But in reality, this team has a window. They have a defense. When you have a really good defense, you want to capitalize on those windows because eventually the salary cap is going to catch up with you. But the thing is, this team doesn't have a quarterback right now. So that's going to be a big, fun point of emphasis here in this Vikings rebuild. We run through the roster here. We'll talk about the quarterbacks when we get to the free agent portion here, but running back, skill position, this team's in pretty good shape. We get Dalvin Cook back. You got the two receivers locked up. Could use some depth at receiver. And then we are using EA's roster. That's just because it allows me to skip ahead to our current timeline. I don't have time to go through and force win 32 entire NFL seasons just to get back in order to use our roster. So we'll combat immersion problems that EA's roster is going to make us face here. We'll try and be as realistic as possible, but obviously when you got someone like Kyle Rudolph, an average tight end rated 93 overall, it can be tough at times. But we'll do our best. This offensive line, we're going to lose Joe Berger. I think he's going to retire. And then we got the tackles who are kind of meh. We do have the center, Pat Elflein, rated pretty low in this game, but we're going to roll with him. But really all four of those other positions could look to be upgraded. Defensively, we are set. I think we could use another D tackle. I'm going to go ahead and make Sharif Floyd a punter here because I don't think he's in the long-term plans here. He's dealing with some pretty serious injuries there, so we're going to have to plan around him. And it looks like the game went ahead and released Jaleel Johnson, who's, a fourth-round pick, a promising rookie. Let's see if he's available. This is just one of those many problems that franchise mode has. So we'll, luckily enough, be able to bring in Jaleel Johnson to make him a prospect here that might start next year, for God's sake, and the game released him. But we could be looking to add another D tackle. Linebacker, we're in pretty good shape. Kendricks and Barr, and then Gideon, kind of that rotational third run defender guy. Teams aren't running three linebackers these days anyway. It's mostly nickel. And then corner is going to be our biggest need, I would say. I would think Terrence Newman will retire in this. He's supposedly going to play again. He's not under contract, so maybe the Vikes bring him back. But Waynes and Alexander, a couple of high-round picks, have not panned out. We are set at safety. So we're going to go ahead and advance it here to the re-sign stage. Really, this team doesn't have a lot of guys I'm interested in re-signing. Jerick McKinnon's going to leave. We got depth at running back, and then a bunch of guys that were just kind of brought in here as Band-Aids, as we're looking at right here. Definitely not worried about any of these guys. Sherrill's maybe long-term Viking special teams contributor, but he's asking for over $2 million. That's not something I want to do here. We'll go ahead and talk to some of these younger guys, see if they want to come back. So Weatherly's going to leave. Rodney Adams actually belongs to the Colts in real life, so we won't bring him back. The kicker, we'll deal with that later. But let's talk about this quarterback situation. So, we're in a really tough NFC. Obviously, the ratings are a little higher than they would be on my roster here. Case Keenum, an 84 especially. I do think that's about what he's going to ask for in real life. A 3-year deal for around 15, 20 a year. I don't like that move for the Vikes. It worked out this year, but I thought he was going to struggle in the playoffs, and he certainly did. He cost that team both games, I would argue. Obviously, it worked out in the end in that Saints game, but Case was clearly not a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. I don't think the Vikings should bring him back. If they were in the AFC playing in a bad conference and had this defense, maybe I'd say differently, but you're looking at a conference that gets the boogeyman back in their own division, and then the Seahawks will be better and healthier. You got Jimmy Garoppolo rising. You still got Drew Brees, and that's just the top. I mean, this Vikings team needs better quarterback play than Case Keenum if they're going to really make a run at a Super Bowl next year. So I'm not thinking about Case, especially at that money. Bradford, probably the highest ceiling out of any of these guys. And I actually like that asking price. I think this wouldn't be the end of the world, but you know, you're talking about a 50% chance that the guy can even finish the year with that knee injury. Definitely a big, high risk, high reward move. I'm a little higher on Bradford than some people as well. And then you got the franchise pick here, Teddy Bridgewater, fan favorite. Personally, I don't think, if he is healthy, which that alone is a pretty big if, I don't think he's that much better than what you're getting from Case. I do like the asking price, but a 3-year deal, I'm not comfortable with that. You know, this team doesn't want to throw away their future if he doesn't work out. So really, I don't think any of these deals make sense. I'm content to test free agency here. We'll probably be able to, you know, bring one of these guys back after they test the market anyway. So we're going to go ahead and advance without re-signing any of these guys. Let's check out the market here. We have 70 mil in cap space. That's what you get for letting 3 quarterbacks leave. So Allen Robinson does hit the market. We obviously don't need him with this team, but Richardson doesn't get re-signed. So we got some options here. Obviously, those quarterbacks still there. Case Keenum getting a lot of contract talk there. If that's the case, I'm backing off. If I'm the Vikes, I'm looking elsewhere. Looks like Jarvis Landry and Butler got re-signed. Nothing we can really do to force the hand of these teams in free agency. So guard, defensive tackle, corner, those are going to be our big offseason needs here. Definitely looking all across the board on offensive line. But I'm venturing over to this trade center here because I'm thinking about getting a little creative here. And, you know, a certain quarterback dominated this Vikings team. A certain quarterbacks coach is now the offensive coordinator here in Minnesota. How about Nick Foles? Cheap contract, good quarterback to bring in here and execute this offense. What will it take, though? We got 80 overall here. Probably not giving up my first-round pick to make this move, but a second-round pick? Would that do it? Let's see. Eagles have no interest in making this trade. And with this kind of flawed update here, we don't really know how close they are to making this deal. You know, I do really think this is a good fit. And honestly, I think a second-round pick would be close to doing it. But, you know, maybe we throw in a fourth. Does this get us any closer? They're still not interested in it. So the Eagles are going to take the route of being stubborn here. That's kind of unfortunate. I was really thinking that was going to be a good move here. So maybe we do go back and back to the drawing board, maybe look at one of our guys, or maybe a guy like Josh McCown, who I actually really like. I think he's a good player. I think he's got more tools and maybe better risk management than Case Keenum. I don't know. I think that could be a good contract. He's not asking for much. Teddy's still not getting any offers. But with Bradford and Keenum getting looks, I think they're going to be gone. I think we can wait this situation out, though. Of course, A.J. McCarron now available. We do have so much cap space right now. Definitely don't want to be conservative here. This defense has its window. So there's some good players hitting the market. And some of these guys are rated a little lower than they probably should be. You know, Justin Pugh here. But I'm definitely going to be aggressive here. I'm going to make offers for both Pugh and Fulton. You know, Fulton's a guy who can play center and guard, and then Pugh can come in and impact that run blocking game right away. And I am going to up this contract for realism because, let's be honest, Justin Pugh's getting $10 million a year. This dude's a stud. So I'm assuming he's going to accept this. The game's not offering that, but it's a realistic signing. The Vikings definitely need guards. If they're letting these quarterbacks leave, they got plenty of cap room. So we're going to go ahead and make this offer. And as expected, we are way up on that list. And we're going to talk to Zach Fulton here. We'll offer Fulton about 24 mil, but that's actually going to put us not even really in the running there. Dolphins are just cashing out for Fulton. How about defensive tackles? Sheldon Richardson, is that something we think about with all this money? Really good year in Seattle. We could use someone to plug right in there on the D-line. I'm going to go ahead and make an offer at Richardson. Looking at about 10 mil a year here with a chunky bonus, but that is going to put us in first place. So I'm hoping we can get him. If he goes somewhere else, you know, maybe we talk to Kyle Williams or one of these veteran guys and just try and extend this window here. And then corner, there's a few guys, you know, Tremaine Johnson, but these guys are going to be pretty expensive. I'm probably going to be looking more draft here for the corner situation. But maybe one of these lower guys just to increase that competition and in case whatever rookie we get isn't that good. How about a guy like Maurice Claiborne, who's not going to get a ton, you know, a one-year deal, experienced guy. He'll come in and start. He's a better version of, I think, what they wanted to find with Tremaine Brock. So that's a good first week of offers. Go ahead and see what they are thinking here. And we got them all. except for Fulton, who we were outbid for. But that's a really good class of free agency right there. You get a starters at 3 positions. And really lets you move ahead towards the draft. We'll look week 3 of free agency if there's any guys slipping through. But really happy with that. I think those are somewhat realistic signings as well. I do think Richardson probably gets re-signed, but hey, if they're going to let him go, we'll definitely throw our money at him. And then as I say that, I go to scout quarterbacks and totally forgot that we have that quarterback situation to deal with. So we'll obviously head back and look at that. If you're wondering, I am going to create rookies. So I have my draft board. I'm not completely done scouting every position, but we're going to talk about some realistic picks at each spot here for these teams. So Teddy's starting to get talked to here. He's getting some decent offers, it looks like. Josh McCown is there. A.J. McCarron as well, not getting the money that some people think he might. Colin Kaepernick, do we think about that? That's actually kind of an interesting concept there. Obviously, we got to get someone in here. I like the Josh McCown idea. I think it's a better version of what you had with Case Keenum last year. And he's not asked for much. You get him for $8 million a year. Go ahead and make that offer and go ahead and advance here. We got a quarterback, not necessarily our quarterback. But we got one on the roster. And let's look and see if anyone's slipping through the cracks here. Some veteran corners. I don't necessarily think we need that. We already got Claiborne in here. Maybe we think about some tight end depth. What do we got here? Sims, Selleck, Virgil Green. James Hanna's an interesting guy, actually. A guy that's sat behind Jason Witten. Pretty good blocker as well. Not asking for a ton. Let's see if we give him just a 2-year deal, what he thinks of that along the offensive line. Things definitely thinning out here. One guy I'm definitely interested in talking to here is Zach Banner. Massive USC lineman. I think he was like a 5th-round pick, but maybe a guy we could work out at guard and see if he doesn't step in an injury or something and maybe turn into a player there where we have basically no depth at guard. Obviously not a very quick guy at 360 pounds, but hey, maybe he works out as a guard. Could maybe use a little more help here along this D line, maybe a lower level guy here with some experience that can rotate. Brian Robeson really dropping off with that age. How about William Golson? He's not going to start, but he can rotate, play good enough in run D. Not really going to rush the passer for you, but just some good depth that's healthy for a roster like the Vikes who doesn't want injuries to control their season. And you got plenty of cap space here. Golson is actually asking for a little more than I'm comfortable for. So how about Ryan Davis? Played well for Buffalo. He's got a little more versatility to him as well. He's a little better as a pass rusher. So that's probably going to wrap up our free agent class. So we do get James Hanna. Golson goes away, but we got Davis, Zach Banner. So, we got something at quarterback and Josh McCown. Maybe we draft a rookie. We're definitely going to want to address that guard situation. We got Danny Isidora in there, and maybe Zach Banner starting. I guess he is the higher overall, but he's more of a project. This D-line's going to be stacked, though, with Sheldon Richardson there, with Linval. What a pairing. I mean, 2 just versatile beasts up front. I'd expect that to be a big upgrade for this defense. And that's really the benefit you get. The cap space isn't totally accurate in this. I think the Vikes are sitting around 40 mil. But if you give, 16 mil to Case Keenum when you could get Josh McCown for 8, that's the difference in a big difference-making free agent. A guy like Sheldon Richardson who's really going to make this defense even nastier. And we picked up Morris Claiborne, too, who could be a starting corner here. So you really open up some space there by not paying some mediocre quarterbacks. Picks-wise, we have just 5 picks this year. Not sure. I think we lost that 4th pick when we traded for Sam Bradford, and then I'm not sure where that 7th-round pick went. Maybe that was Tremaine Brock. So regardless, let's get to the draft here. People often ask me how to get more involved and support TFG directly. Well, now you can. Pledging just $1 on Patreon means more than you know towards bigger and better creations. Becoming a Patreon now hooks you up with access to my personal Discord network where you can slip right into my DMs, Get dibs on video priority to see your teams first, and tangible goods as well, like access to my personal NFL draft board grading every prospect you'll want to know about, and my tier-based fantasy rankings to help you beat your friends and take their money. And for the football junkies, you'll get my Vegas picks, where in 2017 we sniped the Eagles at 66-1 to win it all and went 2-1 picking underdogs. So that's patreon.com/thatfranchiseguy. Do it. Back to the video. Shield your eyes. The top of the draft is about to happen. See some ugly, questionable picks here. Maybe the Browns go quarterback here, but this is probably going to be Sam Darnold, Josh Allen. They take a receiver. Of course they do. So we're going to go ahead and skip ahead. I don't think the Vikes would really entertain trading up here. Maybe you see like Josh Rosen start to fall into the late teens and you make a move up to get him. But I really don't see that happening for the Vikes. I think they're going to stay put. They've already moved multiple picks. Don't have a fourth, don't have a seventh. So I think they're going to stay put. If anything, they may actually trade down. So let's go ahead, skip forward. We're going to do our best immersive experience here with this draft. Not going to be creating all the players. We are going to create players for us. Offensive tackle, definitely something you want to think about. We're picking here at the end of the first. In reality, pretty much every first round caliber tackle will most definitely be gone by this point just because of demand at the position. Could be some guards here of value. Billy Price out of Ohio State and Isaiah Wynn out of Georgia. Two guys who sit in that 1 to 2 range. And I'm going to be honest, I haven't gotten through my linemen or corners. Those are pretty much the two positions left, that and safety, that I haven't really gone deep into. So I'm going based on loose knowledge here. The other positions I'm much more knowledgeable. But I think if you're going guard here, you're probably looking at trading down. But what about corner? As far as this game's concerned, it seems to think that all the good corners are gone. We're gonna, try and mix our reality into this here, though. We'll create players, maybe Dante Jackson, Carlton Davis. They also sit in that 1 to 2 range. But the thing is, I would love to pick up some more picks here because I think you can find value. There's a couple guys at both our biggest needs that are going to still be there in the top 5 picks or so, especially when you look at the teams picking. The Giants and Colts need linemen, but maybe we look at moving up with the Colts, see what they're willing to give us, and then look at a corner or a guard there in that second round. And the Colts are offering us way too much. You're not going to get that. You're going to get, the Colts second and probably a fourth for this pick. So we'll go ahead and do that trade. But loading up on picks, definitely a good idea here. Are you serious? Come on, Madden. Help me out. Throw me a bone. So they'll send me 2/3 and a second, but they won't send me a fourth. That makes so much sense. I'm just going to accept this and then offer them their thirds back for their fourth. And if they don't do that, God, I don't know what to do. All right, so I see now where I screwed up. I took a future second, so I'm gonna have to correct this here, work a little magic. All right, so you wouldn't know it, but I just hopped on another Xbox in order to make that trade go through because I totally screwed that up. But let's go ahead and finally get there. So yeah, I think guard or corner is the pick here. Personally, I prefer to get a guard in this situation. I think that's the bigger need, especially because we signed Claiborne in free agency. So, probably Billy Price, Isaiah Wynn. One of these two guys could certainly be here for the Vikes. I usually lean Big Ten, and again, I haven't really evaluated these guys yet. But for now, we're going to take the best guard available and pretend that it's Billy Price out of Ohio State. And this guy actually looks like he's going to be pretty good, so we might just change his name on over. And that's pretty good. The linemen in this game are rated way too high, something I talked about in that video, but that's a really good pick here. You trade down, you load up on a pick, and you get a starting guard. And then you still pick here in the second round, where you can probably look at getting a good corner here. Most of those guys with first-round talent are going to be gone. I'd expect a run of corners here between picks 20 and 50. So, Mike Hughes and Dante Jackson, Jared Alexander. Alexander could be here. J.C. Jackson out of Maryland. But a guy I really like is Nick Nelson out of Wisconsin, a guy who transferred over, really good athlete. I could certainly see him having a really good freaky combine. They got him listed at 5'11". I think he's every bit of that, maybe even 6 feet tall. We'll go ahead and take a corner here and call it Nick Nelson out of Wisconsin. And we've really hammered in on those big needs here. And I know I haven't really talked about the quarterback situation here. You know, maybe you think about a Luke Falk here, but it sounds to me like Luke Falk is going to fall, and he's a quarterback I really like. Maybe we look at him within our next round, or another guy I really, really like is Benkert out of Virginia. I definitely think that could be one of our next picks here, but let's go ahead and take Nick Nelson here. We'll go ahead and change his name after the draft, and that's a good pick. Slow development, but that's a pretty good corner there. We'll change him up a little bit, but that's about right. So things are going well for this Vikings draft. Let's go ahead and kick Nalter Deeds out of here. Thanks for making that trade, but we don't need you anymore. So let's see if the quarterbacks here resemble anything like real life. So you got a couple guys projected 5th round. You know, Falk and Benkert, they're probably more 2nd to 3rd. Let's imagine this is a world where Luke Benkert falls. I don't think Falk is going to be available. I think he's a guy you could definitely think about with that 2nd round pick, but just what we did, bringing in McCown, I don't think you need to spend a 2nd round pick necessarily on a guy who probably isn't going to start. I think Falk probably going to be sitting for a little while. But Benkert, a guy that has a lot of upside. I think more upside than a guy like Luke Falk. Definitely check out his film. Watch his Miami game. He's really wildly inconsistent, which is going to scare you and why you think you got to sit the guy. But he's got some of the best college tape I've seen in a long time, especially in that Miami game. Mobile guy, quick release, good arm. This guy's going to be a stud, by the way, just by looking at him. But that's pretty good. You know, I think that's actually pretty accurate to where Benkert sits. I think this guy's a little more mobile, but a guy who might be able to flush out McCown coming in, or just maybe you sit him for a year and think about him in the future, or you just wait a year to address the quarterback situation at all. But the 3 big needs have now been addressed. Entering the 4th round here now, you're really just throwing darts in a way. I think receiver depth is something this team really needs. If anything were to happen to Diggs or Thielen, this team would be kind of in trouble, to be honest. So sitting here in the 4th round, this is a position I have finished my draft board on, so I can provide a little better insight here. You know, 4th round, you're probably looking at, you know, maybe Corey Robertson, an intriguing athlete out of Southern Miss. He could be a good fit here as a developmental guy, kind of like Chad Williams last year coming out of Grambling State. Pretty similar prospect there. Deshaun Hamilton's getting a lot of traction out of Penn State. That's the pick here. If you need a guy who's going to come in and make an impact early, might not necessarily have the highest ceiling, but a guy that at the worst, you know, maybe he comes in and he's Marvin Jones or something like that. Got some other interesting prospects, Darius Fountain out of UNI or Jamon Moore. Maybe like an Alan Lazard out of Iowa State, big-bodied guy, 6'5", can really go up and get it. But you do have Thielen here. You know, I think the best fit here is going to be Deshaun Hamilton out of Penn State. Either him or like a Corey Robertson. I don't like the idea of a Kiki Kuti. Yeah, he could come in and be a slot guy, but I'm just not a fan of those small, speedy, especially Big 12 receivers. I don't see Kuti really translating to NFL success. And they do have Jarius Wright here in the slot, who's not terrible. So we're going to grab a guy whose physical tools are pretty similar to what you see from Hamilton, 6'1", 205. That's actually the top receiver available, so that works out well. We're going to go ahead and make him a little better. You know, I got Hamilton graded out as like a 68, so we'll fix him up a little bit. So we got some receiver depth. Maybe look at offensive line next. We really got to skip ahead. We lost that 4th round pick again from the Bradford trade. But this is a really exciting draft here. I think Vikings fans would be really happy with this offseason. You'd be a little nervous, obviously, about the quarterback situation, but overall, I think you're bringing in a lot of talent. Bring in a beefy guard here at the end. It's a little easy to snipe those steals here. I might actually just make this guy the Ohio State guard we drafted. You're not getting a guy like this late. But I do think you go guard here at this point. Guard, center, tackle. Beef up that offensive line for the Vikings. So we take CJ Young here. In reality, this is looking like a guy like Skylar Phillips out of Idaho State, or Colby Gossett out of Appalachian State. Maybe take a shot on one of those smaller school guys. Hope maybe he could be the next Ollie Marpet or something. Or you take Sam Jones, Wyatt Teller, a couple of other guys projected around this time. Drafting guards in the 5th round, I feel like actually has a decent hit rate. And then this one's going to be just a total shot in the dark. But how about, because this is my first video, we're going to take a guy who is my favorite player in this entire class, possibly. He's a D tackle. No one knows about him. Steven Richardson out of Minnesota. Bring him home to the Vikes, a team that's going to need some rotational depth on the D line. The guy's only 5'11", 6 feet tall, but he's an absolute ball of energy. He comes in with that leverage that makes him so hard to block. Last pick of this draft for the Vikes. So we'll go ahead and make him. It's actually a pretty good player there we just took, but that's going to wrap up the draft. You're going to have to give me a minute. I'll edit these players up, get them on the team, and then we'll resume here, get through our regular season and see how we did. See if we can get this team back into the playoffs. We definitely had a good draft. I mean, it was a Big Ten heavy draft, I'll say, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I tried to create these guys. Obviously, their rating's going to be a little more inflated here because we're using the EA roster where all these guys are rated much higher than they should be. But Kurt Benkert, we kept him with that quick development, which is what we drafted him at. But a good developmental quarterback here, guy with a lot of upside that I like a lot. And then at receiver, we bring in Deshaun Hamilton out of Penn State. He's going to challenge Treadwell for sure. Just a really good balanced receiver, smart guy. He's not Chris Godwin from last year. Some people might think that. I don't think he's quite as athletic as Godwin was, but definitely a guy who's going to come in and compete for fourth wide receiver reps right off the bat. And then on the offensive line, we bring in Billy Price in the second round out of Ohio State. He's going to be an impact there. Not going to be a 78 overall coming in. And then Colby Gossett was our fifth, sixth round pick out of Appalachian State. So adding some beef, some depth on that offensive line, much needed. And then we took Nick Nelson in the second round at corner out of Wisconsin. He's going to come in, probably compete with Trey Waynes, Morris Claiborne, get in the mix here. Someone's going to have to win this nickel corner job. Probably going to be Mackenzie Alexander. I don't know how many of these guys actually fit well in the nickel. They don't play the best run D. Maybe Morris Claiborne can do like a Patrick Robinson thing there. And then Steven Richardson. Now, the D tackles are rated crazy high in this game, but I do really think Steven Richardson's going to be an impact pass rushing defensive tackle out the gate. Really crazy good film, really good athlete, just undersized. And I love undersized D linemen because of that leverage they bring in. So this is a really exciting class for this Vikings team. Keeps them competitive, but also adds some youth and some things to build around. We loaded up on some more picks. We're definitely going to have to hit that free agent market a little bit here, though, because we only have like 45 guys on our roster. So, this is a team with Super Bowl expectations. Going to be tough in this NFC, but we're going to do our best. And I think this team's going to be looking with this roster, with a good draft, with a big free agent year, bringing in Claiborne and Richardson. You could be looking at 10, 11 wins again. Obviously have such a good home field advantage there. So we got a preseason injury here, Nick Nelson going down for 7 weeks. That's unfortunate, but we do have depth there. We signed Morris Claiborne for that reason. One more injury here as we get to week 4. What do we got? Oh, Morris Claiborne. So they say avoid injuries, but especially avoid injuries at one specific position, huh? Well, it's not going well for us. That's going to hurt a lot. That basically puts us right back where we were last year at the cornerback position. And then Latavius Murray goes down in week 4, just for 3 weeks. We'll probably be able to survive there. Let's set this season goal. It's probably going to be about 10 wins or, conference championship, divisional round. I'm just going to say make the playoffs. I think that's realistic for this team. Internally, they might be thinking a little bigger, but externally, I think that's pretty realistic. Go ahead and set the depth chart here. Definitely going with Josh McCown, but if he's struggling, we might turn it over to Kurt Benkert, third-round pick. I'm going to pretend Deshaun Hamilton beat out Laquan Treadwell for that fourth wide receiver spot. This offensive line's looking much better now. You spent your first pick in the draft on a big Ohio State, Big Ten lineman, and really front to back there. That's a starting offensive line. Definitely an improvement. Letting Dalvin Cook get some open space. The D-line, we're set here. We're going to move Steven Richardson up here. Linebacker, we didn't even really touch. Definitely going to need to avoid injuries there. But we might be able to sign some depth if something does happen. This is the best we can do right now at corner until we get healthy. And then the safety situation is good for now. So we're just going to move right on along through here. Lost our first game against the Packers. Or not against Packers. We got Packers week 2. Lost our second game. All right, we got Jimmy Garoppolo's 49ers. If we can't win this, we're going to have to look and see what Josh McCown's been up to here. Okay, we're 0-3, so we're doing a real bad job here. And man, we said the injuries at the positions we couldn't have, corner and linebacker. Losing Kendricks for the year now, that's not good. That's like panic mode situation here. We're 0-3 and we lost our starting linebacker. So Michael Willoit could be an option. He's a starting caliber middle linebacker. He's been around. Keenan Robinson, another guy. I'm going to sign Keenan Robinson. Let him come in and start at middle linebacker there. Let's see if these games have been close or what's going on here. We lost to the Saints. That is a pretty tough schedule. I'll at least admit that. I mean, you're dealing out the gate with 3 franchise quarterbacks, 3 teams in Super Bowl contention this year. Arguably the 3 best teams in the NFC next year, actually. The offense has been scoring. We're going to keep Josh McCown in there. If we can't beat the Bears this week, then we'll start to get uber panicked here. And Josh McCown, 270 a game, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. He hasn't been great, but that wasn't the expectation. It looks like the running game's really struggling. And the receivers just kind of being all right. So hopefully we get one against the Bears here. Got the Bears twice in the next 3 weeks. There's a win. Returning from injury, we got Nick Nelson back, so things looking up here. We do have the Eagles this week, so man, that's a brutal start to this season here. I think we could start 1-4, but then turn things around. We'll give Nick Nelson a shot in the nickel. 5'11", 190, Wisconsin guy. He's tough. Now this would be a big upset if we can go into Philly and win. I'm not expecting it. We got a tie. We'll take a tie, but 2 injuries. Latavius Murray getting hurt again, and Josh McCown goes down. Okay, that's actually really interesting because now we got to go to Benkert. It also means we need to sign a quarterback here to get a backup, but, forcing our hand here to play the young kid, see how it goes. Let's bring back Taylor Heineke. He's been in this organization quite a bit, and we're probably going to let him go when McCown's healthy. 1-4-1. That's an unexpected loss. So now it's panic mode. We're just going to mix this up. Play Trey Waynes on the 4th corner there. Gotta get a win. Gotta get it. 1-5-1. So now as I'm becoming pessimistic here, losing Xavier Rhodes for 4 weeks. Definitely not a team that can afford injuries, that's for sure. I'm going to be honest. I have a pretty grim outlook for the Vikes this season. 6-1 at Seattle. It's probably going to be another loss. Optimistic coming into the year. Thought the defense would be good. To be honest, not a playoff team last year in a normal year. The NFC was in shambles. You got Seahawks, Cowboys, Packers. All those teams were out of the picture due to injuries as we pick up another win here. But things are really going to have to go right for the Vikings. I talked about this quarterback situation. I don't think it's pretty. I don't think bringing any of those guys back is going to go very well. The best case scenario I could see happening would be Sam Bradford, actually. But I don't think they're going to re-sign him. I don't think that's the route they go. I think they either go Case, Teddy, try and trade for Foles like we did, but maybe the Eagles will be stubborn. It's going to be a really interesting year for the Vikes. But I think we demonstrated, in my opinion, what's going to be the best crack at it for this team. I don't think they're going to go 3-11 like we saw here. That's just some Madden simulation flaws there. It's another reason these rebuilds are kind of, I don't know the word for it. They're not the best because the way this game is kind of flawed. So I hope you enjoyed my rebuild attempt at the Vikings offseason. We had a bit of an aggressive approach here. We didn't bring back Case Keenum, which is obviously the conservative route, but I think it was the right call. The NFC's tough, and this Vikings team needs to be an improved football team in the NFC next year. It didn't work out here in this franchise. I don't think the Vikes are going to go 3 wins. That's a little crazy. The defense in this simulation just didn't play as well as they're going to in real life, but the offense struggled, and this could happen realistically. You got guys coming in with a lot of hype that haven't consistently prove it for multiple years. Dalvin Cook has a down year here, and Adam Thielen has a down year. I know what you're thinking, Vikings fans. Well, you got rid of their quarterback. Yes, I did. But I think this could very easily happen. I think actually paying Case Keenum a bunch of money is the best route for a train wreck season for the Vikes. There could be varying opinions on that, and that's fine. But I hope you guys enjoyed the rebuild. Like the video if you did. Again, we're diving into the Browns next. We're going to do every team, but thanks, Alvin, for the Vikings scoop here. If you want to see your team sooner, rather than later, head over to patreon.com/thatfranchiseguy. Let me know what team you want to see next. Cheers, everyone. We'll see you next time.